Hey there, this is TechDev. We've got awesome tutorials for you. Watch out now!
Hey there, this is our first refactor video for our first Flutter speed code UI, that is the login UI from Adican code. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a constant .dat file and store all our constant variables in it. So here we create our constant .dat file. We import our material.dat, and that will enable us to use all the features from the material.dat file. And we copy our primary color and our text field color from our main.dat file and paste it into our constant.dat file. So we give them all the constant keyword, and then we have to import our constant.dat file so that it will reference our primary color and our text field color. So secondly, we extract the text field as a widget and call it by a custom widget name to reduce redundancy in our code. So here in our text field has features that repeat itself twice. So we have a username text field and the password text field, and they both have the same features. So what we're going to do is we are going to extract one of them as a widget and then make it usable by just referencing the widget name we would give it. So in this case, it's our text field comp. That's the widget name. So we are going to copy the widget, that is the text field comp widget, from our main.dat file. We are going to actually cut it. But before we cut it, let us create our final variables. That's the final string text, and then the final icon, and then we'll require them in our text field comp constructor, so that when we call our widget, we would have to give the text and the icon, which will be used in the text field. So after requiring them in our constructor, we go and then replace our hint text with the variable text and our prefix icon with the variable name icon. So here we move back to the reference of our text field comp in our main.dat file. We give it a text, username, and then the icons dot person outline. And our second reference, we give it a text password and the icons dot lock outline, and then we give it colors dot white. Good. So we are going to delete our second text field here, which was very long line of code, and voila, we've reduced that whole lines into just these. Very wonderful. So we copy our text field comp widget, we actually cut it, and then we go to the root of our lib folder, create a components folder, and then in the components folder we create a text field.dat file, and in our text field.dat file we'll paste our text field comp widget, and we have some errors, and these errors require us to import material.dat because we are using some features of the material.dat file, And then we import our constants.dart file as well to use our primary color and our text field color. So back to our main.dart file, we import our component/textfield.dart file so that it references or it sees our text field.dart or our text field comp widget from our text field.dart file. Then we move back to our text field.dart file and then create a final bool obscure text and require it in our text field comp constructor. Then we move down, and then in our text field we'll say obscure text and put the obscure text variable there. And then we move back to our main.dart file and then set the obscure text for our password as true and the obscure text for our username as false. So when we type in our username field, we see the whatever we've typed, and when we go to our password field, the text become obscure. So step 2, we also extract our raised button as a widget and then call it by our custom widget name, which we'll create in order to reduce redundancy in our code. So the raised button for our Facebook and our Google button. So we are going to move our cursor to the raised button, click on our yellow bulb and extract it as a widget and give it the custom name raised button comp. So we copy the same thing and then paste it after our sized box. Now when we save it, you see 2 Facebook raised buttons there. So we go back to our raised button component and then set our final string image source and our final string text, and then require them in our raised button components constructor. After we replace the image.asset, the reference, with our image source variable, and we replace the text also with our text variable. So back to the top, in our reference, we give the image source as assets/facebook.png. and then our text as continue with Facebook. And in our next reference, we copy the same thing from our first one and then paste it in our second reference of our raised button component. Change the image source to google.png and the text to continue with Google. We save it and voila. So we have to delete this raised button for the Google button. And now we copy our raised button component, we cut it from our main.dart file and move it to our component. We create our raised button.dart file in our component, and then we import material.dart and we paste our raised button components. We have an error, so our primary color is in our constants.dart file, so we reference it to. We go back to our main.dart and then reference our raised button components. Beautiful. So we actually reduce the number of lines. Step 3, we extract our divider as a method and call it by our custom method name to help us further reduce the number of lines of code in our project. So this is our divider from our row Yep. So we put the cursor on our row widget, click our yellow ball, and then extract as a method. So we give it a name, build divider. So we go down, cut our method from our main.dart file, go to our components folder, create a divider.dart file, import material.dart, and we paste our divider. Very beautiful. And then we'll go back to our main.dart file and then reference our build divider method. Very beautiful. We fix the overflow error. That's a yellow and black line. You realize that when we click our text field, the screen overflows. So let's fix it. So we have to make our screen scrollable. So let's take off the padding and then change our column to a list view so that the screen becomes scrollable. We remove the main axis alignment, replace it with the padding. Edge insert to .symmetric. We give it a horizontal of 40.0 and a vertical of 50.0. Yep, 0.0. So now let's save. That's too much. So let's reduce the horizontal to 30.0. Good. So we go down to our text and then align our text to the center. Good. So now when we click on the text field, there's no overflow anymore. At first, the screen size, the content on the screen was overlapping or overflowing. So we had to make the screen or the content scrollable so that when we scroll up, we can get what is down and our contents do not overflow. So let's go to our text field.dart. You see that our input text is black. So let's go to our text field.dart and give it a style, a text style of colors.white. Good. So voila, it changes. So the advantage of this is that I'll have to change or make changes to only one file and it affects everywhere I've referenced it. So let's also wrap our list view in a safe area so that our contents do not overflow into our status bar or our notification bar up there. So you see, it goes under. Yep. That's the beauty of it. So we have just one file, we work on just one file, and then it affects everywhere we've made a change or we've made a reference to. Very beautiful. See you in our next refactoring video.